Hello there, YouTubes. How the devil are we all? I am extremely well, especially because I've got some, I don't know if you can see that, juggling boobs. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, someone bought me a pair of tits you can juggle. So that's, I don't think people know me, but, well, the people that know me don't know me. Whatever. Anyway, I thought I'd show you that because it's not every day you get given a pair of plasticky tits to play with. Yeah. Anyway, yes, I'm. Thanks for asking. This is going to be a bit of a strange one. Oh, and by the way, I've got the PC's back working, so we're sort of stuck in this room for now. Although, well, I'll be able to film and do some editing and stuff, maybe, I don't know. But basically, I can make some videos again now, so that's good. Anyway, it's going to be a slightly longer, rambly one because I just wanted to sort of get some shit off my chest. Now, this is going to be a bit of a weird one because I don't usually do anything like this with the series in question. For those either joining me when I'm putting this up, as I'm putting it up, or I'm going to link it underneath the episode of Descent of Man-osphere for which this person, Blaire White on this occasion, it will be the yeah. I don't usually reveal ahead of time who my subjects are going to be, but on this occasion I wanted to just sort of have a longer, rambly sort of wrap-up bit. For those that don't know, my Descent of Manosphere, I take one member of the Manosphere, analyse their stuff, critique it, take the piss out of them for a bit, and then do like a wrap-up at the end, and then tell them to go fuck themselves. But usually it's quite a sort of glib general wrap-up. But the research for this one has been particularly difficult, actually, and not difficult as in like intellectually challenging, because Blaire White has no arguments whatsoever. She has no science on her side. She's got nothing. She's just conservatism's wet dream in a bizarre way. She's the living embodiment of token. Of a token, not of the word token, of the concept of essentially someone prepared to shit on their own. And so that it's been challenging in a really strange way. Anyway, so rather than doing like a wrap up in the episode, what I'm going to do is do this as a long, rambly, getting shit off my chest wrap up and link it underneath that video. So if you're joining me from that link, apologies for the rambly start. But anyway, there's no real structure to this, so whatever. Yeah, this has been a really strange one. People will know who followed that series. The research for some of the episodes has been really, really taxing. Rarely in terms of the intellectual substance of the argument. I mean, part of the reason I do the series is because I know they've got nothing. I'm pushing against an open door constantly in terms of the arguments they've got. But in terms of having to listen to the kind of drivel, and you get sucked into a very strange mindset, because I'd listen to tens of hours of this trash, and you get into a really strange situation where they'll say something really truly appalling, like some Nazi-licious fucking shit about Hitler, or something about, oh, rape, is rape really all that bad? And instead of doing the normal instinctive reaction of, oh my god, that's disgusting, because I'm listening for that specific shit, and I know that's absolute pay dirt, as it were. I'm not earning a lot of money, but you know what I mean. In terms of the series, it's absolute gold. I go, yes, brilliant, write it down, and it really is. I literally have pen and paper. I'm like a fucking caveman, and I write it down, and then I think to myself, oh wow, that's not a normal reaction to have. And so essentially, because you listen to so much of it, you become sort of desensitized to it. And so I wasn't expecting the reaction I had when I sat down to do the research for Blaire White. For those that don't know, and I imagine if you're subscribed to me, you probably know who she is. She's a trans woman who does sort of just very conservative shit. She's I don't know, is there a trans woman version of Uncle Tom? That's basically what she is. She's an absolute traitor to every trans person and to every trans ally. I mean, she's over the course of doing the research for this, she's become one of the people that I've grown to loathe the most. And it might sound peculiar because just the fact that she's trans means that you maybe give her slightly more leeway in terms of, like, if she doesn't necessarily always approach things in the way that you would, you say, okay, well, she's got a very different lived experience. In the same way that if you're from a community, you can essentially talk about that community in a different way than if you're from outside of it, because you're sort of speaking from a position of knowing what it's like to be a part of that community, right? And so you should definitely give that person a little bit more leeway. But even with that, she makes my fucking skin crawl, I'll be honest. It's been a genuinely quite emotional experience going through her stuff, because with a lot of the episodes, I sort of know what I'm getting into with many of the characters that I've done so far. And there are a few, because we've gone so far into the series now, we're on episode, 37 or something, 36. There are a few of the characters I don't know so well, and so I don't know what I'm getting into. Like when I did Armagon, Bibbidi Bobs, I didn't really know what to expect from him particularly, and so one or two of the positions he takes, were taking me, took me back a little bit. Whereas with someone like the Amazing Atheist, you know exactly what you're getting into there. You're essentially just looking for the right, the specific quotes to make the point that you want to make about him, or to expose that part of who he is, or whatever. And with Blaire White, even though she hasn't been around that long, actually, we were a little known fact. We were supposed to have a debate, me and Blaire, back when she was like a tiny channel. It didn't happen in the end. That's a thing that happens from time to time. So we had some interaction way back, although I dare say she doesn't remember it, and I didn't until I was going through some old Twitter DMs the other day. But even though she hasn't been around that long, she's gained enough notoriety that I knew what to expect going in terms of the argumentation. But even so, the phenomenally crude nature of everything she says and believes and stands for and is, the very embodiment of what she is, took me aback. I found it really, really heavy going. Now, in terms of when the episode's coming out, I have no idea. It could be a few days. It could be 2 months. I don't know. I haven't actually started filming it yet. I've got a couple of the clips packages put together. But anyway, the basic point was I've done all the research for it, right? So I feel like I can sort of do a wrap up in terms of the experience of researching and stuff. And it's been really, really tough going. Because, and this is the analogy I brought up to some people on Facebook. It's like with Blaire White, she denies that, essentially she sort of denies that trans people exist. Look, she says at one point in her debate with ContraPoints, I was born a man, I am a man, I'll die a man, or whatever. All right. Basically denying that trans people are really what they say they are, even though she herself is a trans person who says that she's a woman. She asks the world to address her as a woman, and yet doesn't believe intrinsically that she is one, it seems. She basically denies the fucking existence of trans people as a trans person to service her conservative ends, it seems. And for me, it's like, the analogy I raised was, or I came up with, was it's like an astronaut goes to space, sees with their own fucking eyes that the Earth is not flat. It's not resting on the back of a fucking tortoise or an elephant or held up by columns or whatever. And yet comes back to Earth and is still a flat earther. And that's what it seems to be with Blaire and gender, or Blaire and sex. She's been shown the truth of the situation by her own fucking existence, and yet still denies it. She still goes along with the gender binary thing constantly, and says the most horrific things. She says of trans women, describes their vaginas as wounds. Now, I can't even imagine how disgusting that is. Oh, I can't imagine. I can't describe how utterly reprehensible a way of talking about people, but human beings, that is. And not just that, but she's so wrong. She's so wrong. She's the Dunning-Kruger fucking, what, I don't know where to describe it. She thinks that she has science on her side, and she really, really fucking doesn't. It's so unbelievably frustrating to listen to someone who speaks with such confidence about things they clearly know fuck all about. It, oh God. And this, I think someone just texted me or something. Anyway, this is why it's, this episode to research has been so difficult, because say with someone like David Sorrino, every video you watch of his, he comes out with a new gem of fucking evil. Which is good for the series, but not great for your fucking mental health when you're watching his shit. But in a way, it's almost like when I watch Man-osphereans, I'm not, and this is going to sound awful because I really don't mean to dehumanize them in this way, but it's sort of, I think, an apt analogy in a way. It's sort of like watching a zoo animal. When you see the lion tearing a zebra to pieces, well, not in the zoo, on the savannah or whatever. Right? When you see a lion tearing a zebra, you don't think, oh my God, that lion's evil because he's tearing up the zebra. You think, well, that's sort of what they are. That, yeah, you know, they're sort of, that's what they do. And although, of course, then the reason I don't want to dehumanize them, A, because that's wrong, and B, it's morally wrong, and B, it's actually wrong. We should expect humans to behave in a more decent and humane way than that. But in a way, it's sort of their nature. They're just morally repugnant people, and they can and should be educated and can and should be better. But you don't expect any more from them. I think that's the point I'm trying to make here. You don't expect any more from the likes of David Sorrino. You can't expect a lot more from them because they've lived decades on this planet and have not progressed from the age of about fucking 12, it would appear. And so I can kind of put up with that in a bizarre way. I know this is going to sound really strange and sort of counterintuitive, but I can sort of put up with that in the sense that I can content myself that these are just assholes. And just do a show about them, you know? Whereas with someone like Blaire, who's been through what she's been through, you know, transitioned. Although I will point out to her, by the way, if we're going to do genitals and chromosomes and all that, as she tries to set up in her little paradigm with actually in both of her debates, both with Lacey Green and with ContraPoints, then she's still a man. If you're going to go down that line, Blaire, and if you are, then why are you asking me and everyone else to address you as a woman? Why do you address yourself as a woman? And why have you tried to show yourself to be a woman if you actually think you're a man? It's disgusting, and it sells out all trans people. It basically belittles all trans people, and she should know so much better than that. Like I can from like I say, I mean, I don't want to just pick on David Sorrino because there are so many scumbags in that series. Or in this series, I suppose technically this is sort of a part of it in a way. It's an addendum, whatever. I don't just want to pick on him, but he's a great example. He doesn't know any better. He sort of is like the zebra, sort of is like the lion. Well, actually, I think he probably likes the idea of being thought of as a lion. He's sort of like the monkey flinging shit around. He doesn't. It's look, you can't expect, or you certainly don't expect any better from them, right? It's just what they do. Whereas Blaire's like a human that gets in there and starts flinging the shit about. They should know so much fucking better than that. And that might sound bad, and I hope I don't offend anyone by that. I hope I don't offend any trans people by that, by like holding them to a higher standard necessarily. But I think they should know better from their lived experiences. And yet when you get a trans person who's prepared to act as the token, to prepare to act as the trans Uncle Tom, whatever that would be called, I don't know. I should probably learn that, because I'm probably going to have to say it in the episode, aren't I? Or if you're watching this afterwards, I've probably said it and learned it already, haven't I, or something. Yeah, when you find a trans person like that, like when they trot out the black guy on Fox News to go on about how terrible black people are, or they trot out a Muslim to say how evil Muslims are, or whatever. When you find people like that, they're the most disgusting human beings to prepare for coin, basically, to sell out their fellow X, group X, whatever. And so watching through her stuff and seeing her demean and belittle trans people individually and collectively, transness, the state of being trans, to essentially deny their existence, to purposefully continue to misgender Riley Dennis, to belittle and berate Milo Stewart, who, I mean, I've got some issues with. Well, actually, I've got some issues with everyone. I'm a fucking arsehole, obviously. But even so, the way she dealt with him was pretty disgusting, jumping on the bandwagon and trying to slaughter him. I think it is him, isn't it? Or is it? I'm not sure, actually. With Milo, I'm not sure. Apologies if I've accidentally misgendered there. There's something going on. Yeah, my brain's a little bit frazzled at the minute. It's the way, another thing she goes on about, essentially, again denying that she's that trans people really exist. She says that essentially they're imitations of what they say they are. She says that they're essentially what's the word she uses? I forget. But I should have had my notes as well. Well, I can't read through the fucking notes anyway whilst I'm just broadcasting. But yeah, she basically says that they're mimicking the other sex rather than being it, which again is to deny the existence of trans people as a trans person. I mean, even most anti-black people, if that makes sense, like the kind of Tommy Sotomayor's or whatever, don't deny that black people exist. They may be annoyed by their existence, but they don't deny their existence. Whereas with the trans thing, she sort of does seem to think that trans people don't exist, which I found it really sort of quite surprisingly upsetting, because, like I say, when I'm just watching one of these other man-osphereans, I think, well, I don't expect any more from them. I don't expect Rouge V to be a nice person. And whilst obviously, when you get any group of people, hello, right. I don't know what the fuck happened there. Apologies if the internet cut out or something. How far did we get before I cut out? Can someone in the chat tell me how far we got? What was the last thing they heard me say? And I'll just pick up from there. Because I don't know when it did, because I stopped looking. I had a different thing up. Yeah. Sorry, there's a slight delay, everybody. So the people in the chat who are hopefully going to tell me where I was. Can someone tell me, please, in the chat, what was the last thing? No one tries to, what? Hello. I'd be surprised. I'd be so surprised. By the way, 15 people are watching. I've 0 thumbs up and 1 thumb down as this is happening. So there's that. Yeah, if anyone is still watching this, I think you were talking about anti-black people don't deny that black people exist. Right. Okay. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So even anti-black people don't deny that black people exist. Whereas Blaire does deny that it seems that trans people exist. She says that they're imitations of, or that they're mimicking the other sex rather than actually being that other sex, which is pretty fucking. I mean, that is the very definition of transphobia, surely. And I know these shitlord dickheads don't like the concept of internalized X, but it clearly does exist. And I think Blaire is an absolutely prime example of that. And when you watch one of these others, you don't expect any better from them, but I do expect better from someone who's lived that thing. How can you live the thing and then be totally against the science of the thing? It'd be like a fucking polar bear denying global warming. There's a weird analogy for you. I certainly didn't come up with that before the fucking thing, before the stream cut out halfway through. that was most peculiar. Anyway, yeah. And so this one was really difficult. I wasn't expecting it to be as emotional. But like I say, I don't expect any better from those other fuckers. I do expect better. I did expect better from her. I thought she'd have something. I knew she was a transphobic piece of shit because I'd seen her tweets and Facebook. Well, actually, I don't know if she even has a Facebook. Her tweets. I'd seen some of her transphobic tweets and stuff. I knew that she was a pretty awful person. But just to see the level of awfulness, I try whenever possible not to hate. I genuinely don't like hate. Hate is an almost entirely negative emotion. It can be used in positive ways, I suppose, as like a kick up the arse in extreme circumstances. But by and large, it's a pretty negative thing. But Blaire has really driven me to the point where I don't know that I can say I don't hate her anymore. I'm not going to go as far as to say I do, because I think that's, like I say, it's very, very strong. But I can't say for sure that I don't. And there aren't many people in the world for whom that's true. Outside of, like, you know, mass murderers or something. Like in like an internet sense, there aren't many people on the internet I can say I definitely, or I don't definitely hate that person. Oh no, hang on. I definitely don't hate that person. And Blaire is one of those now. It did actually sort of emotionally affect me in a way. Not in like I'm not having a fucking breakdown or anything. It's just it got me down a little bit to see this person utterly sell out their group. And I know it's not a group that, like, no one signs up to be a part of that. You're either that or you're not that. But don't shit on people who are in the same boat as you. I mean, what an awful thing to fucking do. What an awful thing to be. What an awful way to earn your living. I hope your 50 pieces of silver are worth it, Blaire. Fucking hell. Anyway, I thought I'd bring you this long rambly shit and just get it off my chest because, God, this one was difficult. And I haven't even started filming the bastard thing yet. Hopefully it doesn't get too angry and ranty, because in researching this, I thought several times I considered not making the episode at all because I just thought I'm just going to get too angry. But I promised myself I would do this series diligently and properly, and I'm fucking going to. And I'm going to try and remain reasonably calm whilst doing so. And if I manage to, some minor miracle will have taken place. Anyway, Blaire, go fuck yourself, first and foremost. And thank you to everyone else for listening and watching. I'll put some links and shit here to videos and the subscribe and all that shit. For listening and watching. Pip pip.